Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, I want to talk about how to affirm for your desires without feeling resistance, because I know how it can be to affirm for something and truly want to believe it, but then in your mind you kind of get this sort of negative feeling, or you feel like, yeah, right, I'm not really that thing. Or I don't see this, so why am I affirming for it? Like, it's not, I can't even see it happening out here. Is this even doing anything? We have all these thoughts about this, so I want to explain how I affirm from my desires in a way that creates little to no resistance at all for pretty much anything. And the way that you do this first comes with understanding what it is that you're actually doing when you're affirming. And even if you think you know, let me at least explain my perspective on this. So, when you're affirming for your desires, you're not affirming it from the perspective of yourself as a human, okay? You're affirming for your desires from the perspective of you as the universe, you as God, your higher self. So, when you affirm for this thing, you have to understand that what we said in other videos is that creation is finished, you are the universe, you are God, which means you are everything, which means everything exists for you, everything is you, right? Like, there's no separation between you and everything you see around you. Everything is you in the imagination, in reality, unmanifested, the manifested, all of it is you, right? So when you're affirming for something, again, you're affirming from your higher perspective, from this God perspective of I am everything. So it's not the human you that you're saying has this thing. It's the God version of you that you're saying has this thing, the universal view. So when I say, something like, I am famous or something like that, I'm famous. If I say that, I'm not saying that from the perspective of I am famous, like this version of me, like Sam, this body that I'm living in. I'm not saying I am famous. I am saying as God, as the universe, as my higher self, I am famous. And the reason that's true is because the universe is everything, right? God is everything. Our higher self is everything. So when I say that, I know that I am famous is a part of that everything. When I say I am famous, I am famous. I could say I'm a superhero. I'm a superhero. That's just part of the everything. If I'm able to say it, it's part of the everything. So it already exists. As in, I think of it like an ocean. I always see it like a big ocean in my mind or something. And then I see me sort of like picking a little piece of, or a water droplet, something out of the ocean. Like, I'm just getting a little drop of water out of the ocean. When I say I am famous, it's like, or if you'd like to think of it like a giant file cupboard of everything that's ever existed. And I'm just pulling out that file of I am famous. As in, because creation is finished. So when I say this thing, I am that thing, because I am the universe is everything. I'm simply selecting part of it. That's all I'm doing. I'm choosing to put my focus on one part of it. It's just you pointing out a part of yourself. That's like me right now, like the fact that I have blonde hair. I know I'm not on camera, but I have blonde hair. So that'd be like me saying right now, I have blonde hair. If we were affirming from the perspective of a physical self, I have blonde hair. I have blonde hair. That's just me pointing out a part of me that already exists. That's already true, right? So when you are affirming as your higher self, as everything, when you say I am famous or I am successful, it's just a part of you. And you're just reminding yourself of a part of yourself. But when you're saying this, you're putting focus on it, right? And when you put focus on anything, that's what comes out in the physical world. The physical world is just the parts of yourself that you've decided to focus on the most. That really all it is. It's all it is. Like, the parts of the universe that you've decided to focus on the most are what come out here. That's it. But you are not this physical body. So when you are affirming for something, You don't need to have it out here right away to know that it's yours. When we say know that it's yours right now, it's know that it's yours as the universe. Know that it's yours because in imagination you can see it as yours. That's the only place you have to know that it's yours. And then out here, it just happens by a secondary effect that it manifests out here. It's so powerful to affirm as your higher self rather than from a human perspective. Because when you're affirming from a human perspective, you have this needy, wanting feeling. You're constantly affirming, constantly trying to remind yourself all the time, I have this thing, I have this thing, I have this thing, because you don't see it out here. Because you can't see it, so you don't think you have it. But you are not this physical body. So realize you're the one in imagination. Can you see it there? Can you affirm for it there? Yes. It's yours. It's you. Like, you are every single thing to ever exist. And if you understand that you're affirming from that perspective, from the perspective of the one in imagination, you identify with that one, then you don't need to worry about what this one out here has. You don't need to worry if you can see it out here or not, because that's not who you are. This is just your body itself is a manifestation. Like, it's just going to happen out here by secondary effect of you knowing that you have it in imagination, that you knowing you have it as the universe, as God, that is just a part of you. And when I say I'm famous, I'm telling my higher self, this is what I would like to experience in physical form. I would like to experience being famous from all the things that we already are. Okay, I keep trying to explain this topic and I keep re-recording this because I find it a bit difficult to put into words for you guys. But this is really important if you can wrap your head around it. So I'm going to try to keep explaining it. Let me know if it makes sense. But you have to understand that you are awareness. You're simply aware. This is what you are. Your consciousness, you're aware of yourself. That's all this reality is. This physical body that you're living in it's just a vessel to experience yourself. But you are not the physical body. It's not truly who you are. So when you were saying, I am this thing, you are not saying it from the perspective of you in this body, okay? You are saying it from the perspective of awareness or consciousness or source, whatever you want to call it, God. You are saying it from the perspective of the real you. And the real you is everything, has everything. And you can see this in imagination. Imagination is a glimpse into all that exists of you. And what you're experiencing in this life is simply just a part of yourself. That's all it is that you're experiencing. So, okay, when you are saying, I am famous, I'm a millionaire, whatever else, you are saying it not to get anything out here. Like, when you're affirming for it, it's not because you're getting something out here. You're affirming for it because it is the truth of who you are. So when I say I am famous, it's the truth because it's just a part of everything. It's a part of me. So I see it like when I say affirmations too, like I said, I see it like pulling a drop out of an ocean, or I even see like the words just sort of melting into the ocean, melting into all that is me, because that's all it is. I'm just affirming for something that's already true, that already exists. I could say, I am a singer, I am a dancer. Like, when you say I am this, you have to know it's true because the universe is everything. So when you're affirming it as the perspective of the universe. So just know when you say it, even if you don't feel like you're the universe, know that when you say it, even though that's the truth, when you say it, you are saying it from the perspective of the universe. So act like, even if you don't believe you're the universe, even if you find that hard to wrap your head around, say it from the perspective of the universe, like of the everything that you've known. I am famous. That's a portion of the universe, right? Like, that is part of the universe, is being famous. That's a concept, right? So you have to know that that exists, that it's true. All you have to know is that it exists. And once you do this, you're simply putting your awareness or your focus on this thing. And once you do that, once you put your awareness or focus on something, even just one time, then you've pulled the file out. You've selected the droplet of water out of the entire ocean that is the universe that you're going to experience. So when you say this thing, you're simply putting your focus on it, is all you're doing. It already exists. So when you say, I am this thing, it's not you're trying to convince yourself or something. It's just that it exists. It is part of the universe. I am famous. I am famous is a concept. It is part of the universe. It is part of everything. So when you're saying it, it already exists. All you're doing is sort of like pulling that file out by saying this, and you're putting your focus on that. And the more that you put your focus on something, the faster, you see it out here. But at the same time, it doesn't require a lot of focus. It can be very effortless, simply putting one little bit of thought on it, and then coming back to this physical form, living in your physical body, moment to moment, living in the present moment, as we talked about, and letting it unfold, because that's all you're doing. You're selecting, letting it unfold, selecting, letting it unfold. That's all you're ever doing. And the reason that we say stay in the present moment is because your mind is going to be more clear this way. You're not going to be having a bunch of other thoughts sort of like getting in the way, because then you start selecting other parts of this big ocean and you start bringing them into. So that's why things get more complex. That's why we often have to go back and say the same affirmation again, because it gets mixed up in like I want to say blunder, is that a word? In the blend of things and all the different things that we're thinking about, it kind of gets mixed up in there. So if you're staying in the present moment, your mind's going to be a lot more clear. There's not going to be as many thoughts. So things move through a lot more quickly. And that's why there's also the method of affirmations, saying them over and over repeatedly, because most of us have a lot of thoughts going on in our mind all the time. So if you're not very good at quieting your mind, at living in the present moment, you can affirm this way as well. You'll still be doing the same thing. You're still putting focus on the thing you want, although you have to make sure that, you're still staying in this energy of knowing what that affirmation actually means when you're saying it. As in, you're not saying it to get anything out here. Once again, you're saying it because it is who you are. It is already who you are. And all you're doing by saying it is now putting focus on that portion of yourself, and so that you can experience it in this physical vessel. You can think of it like anytime you're saying an affirmation, it's being like, okay, I want to experience this part of myself today. All right. And then you go back into your body and you experience it. Like, that is all it is. I don't even know if this explanation is making any sense, but it's very hard to put into words. This is just something that I have come to know. And by doing this, by realizing when you're affirming that it's you as the universe affirming, it's not you in this physical body, there's so much less resistance, because you're not trying to force anything out here. You're not trying to experience anything out here by saying this thing. You're simply reiterating the truth that you already know, that this concept is part of the universe. Like, everything exists within the universe. So when you say this thing, you're simply just pointing out a fact. I am famous. That is part of the universe. By saying this is part of everything to ever exist. It's like looking at the ocean, and the ocean is every living thing, every concept, every word, everything ever to exist. And all you're doing is just pulling a droplet of water out of that ocean when you say this thing. Like, it already existed in the ocean. You're simply just separating it and pulling it out so you can see it. Like, you're putting your focus on it. And the more that you put focus on something, again, the faster you will see it out here. And if you have a very clear mind and you put your focus on it one time, it's very quickly going to manifest out here. And that happens by living in the present moment, by being as present as possible. Because the whole point of you being here is to experience your desires. It's not to need the end goal so badly, because you already are all things. The only reason you're here is because you want to experience how it unfolds for you. So recognize that being in the present moment is the whole point. That's why being in the present moment manifests things so quickly, because that's the whole reason you're here, is to experience. It's not to get straight to the end, because then there'd be no point for this reality. There'd be no point to be in a physical experience, because you would just have everything instantly. And if you think about that, would that make you happy, having everything and never having to work for anything? Like literally right now, you could just get to all your goals, have everything you've ever wanted, but you don't get any of the experience. You just are there. Like falling in love, all that stuff, like you would just pass out, what am I saying? Pass up on it, just like the movie Click. Think of the movie Click, where you just fast forwards through everything. That's like what you're trying to do. So recognize that the experience is so valuable. It is so special to be able to experience this. And you just keep trying to fast forward through it. But you don't have to. And by not fast forwarding through it, that's going to be the way that you experience what you want faster. Because you're actually being present. You're actually living it, experiencing it. Like the more you're in your physical form and you're not in your head thinking about when's it going to come, the faster it will show up. Because you're not blocking it in your mind by thinking. Because that's all you're doing when you're in your mind constantly. You're just putting more thoughts in there, rather than just letting it clear out and just allow it to flow through when it wants to flow through. And again, for anyone that needs this, your mind, your higher self, it does not forget about the things you affirmed, okay? You don't need to worry about constantly reminding it. It will remember. It will remember. The more you live in the present moment too, it'll eventually flow through whatever it is that you affirm for. So you don't need to stress about, oh my God, I have to remind it. If you feel like you want to affirm, if you feel like you want to put focus on that thing again, then definitely do that. Like put the focus back on that thing. Like it's not bad to affirm. It's just, you don't have to stress about saying it a certain number of times or if I did this enough. Just because this was something I used to always worry about, is that my mind was going to forget about it if I didn't constantly affirm for it. But that's not what happens. It's the opposite. So anyways, this video was a very confusing one. I hope that it made sense to you guys. I recorded this like 50 times. I'm not even kidding. It was just, very hard to explain, but I really wanted to get this concept across. So hopefully it makes some sense. If you have questions about it, please leave a comment. Let me know, because I'll try my best to answer. And as always, comment, like, subscribe if you enjoy these videos. And I'll see you guys in the next one, right? Bye.